Let's cut through the fluff. This is the kind of topic that makes people uncomfortable, but that's exactly why it needs to be talked about. If you're a man who's ever had that gut feeling that something's off with a woman you're dealing with, you're not paranoid, you're not crazy. You might just be picking up on the subtle, real-world signs that most men either ignore or are too scared to accept. The truth? A lot of men today are walking around confused, overinvested, and emotionally manipulated because they don't understand women as well as they think they do. They're emotionally committed while she's emotionally checked out. And when something changes, her energy, her mood, her body language, they blame themselves, not realizing what's really going on. Let's be clear, this isn't about shaming women. This is about clarity. This is about giving men the tools to observe behavior, trust their instincts, and stop living in emotional denial. Because let's face it, society has trained men to ignore their gut feelings and instead just be more understanding. But sometimes, understanding is the very thing that gets you played. Women are emotionally complex. Yes. But they're not unpredictable. Patterns exist. Behavioral shifts have meaning. And if you can read them, you're not a paranoid boyfriend. You're just not blind. This video will break down some of the most controversial, uncomfortable, and real signs that a woman might have just slept with someone else. Not based on online theories or bro science, but on observable, real-life patterns that many men have seen, ignored, and later regretted not confronting. Remember, information isn't about control. It's about awareness. If any of these hit close to home, don't panic, process. Because the truth might sting, but it can also save you from months or even years of confusion and wasted time. Let's get into it. 1. Sudden mood shift toward you. You ever notice how everything seemed fine, maybe even good, and then boom, she's cold, dry, maybe even irritated for no reason? That's not just mood swings. That's often a sign of emotional dissonance. She knows what she did, and now she doesn't know how to act around you. One of the biggest giveaways is how fast the shift happens. Yesterday, she was laughing at your jokes, texting you cute messages, maybe even initiating intimacy. Now, you're annoying her just by breathing. That's not random. That's guilt translating into emotional distance. She might pick fights over dumb stuff. Things that never used to bother her suddenly do. Or she becomes super quiet, like she doesn't even want to talk to you at all. It's not that something you did changed, it's that she changed. Her actions, her body, and her mind just experienced something with someone else. And now she's trying to reconcile that while standing in front of you like nothing happened. Here's what a lot of men miss. It's not always obvious cheating behavior. It's subtle. And sometimes, it's emotional. But once intimacy with someone else enters the picture, the dynamic between you two changes. Fast. You might even notice she's less patient with you. Where she used to explain things or listen, now she seems like she's barely tolerating the conversation. That's because when a woman feels emotionally conflicted or guilty, it often shows up in the way she detaches. The emotional connection between you two feels heavy to her now, like a reminder of what she just did. One situation that stands out. A guy shared how his girl came back from a weekend trip, and right after, she wouldn't hug him the same. She acted like his touch irritated her. She was tired, stressed, in a weird mood. But it wasn't any of that. It was what happened before she came home. This kind of mood shift doesn't always mean something happened. But when it happens out of nowhere, when nothing else makes sense, and her energy toward you changes overnight, you better pay attention. Because women don't need to confess when their actions already do. 2. Unusual emotional guilt or over-attentiveness. Sometimes it's not distance that gives her away. It's the opposite. Suddenly, she's too nice. She's doing things she never does, cooking for you out of nowhere, complimenting you constantly, laughing extra hard at your jokes. She's acting like the perfect girlfriend, but it feels off. Why? Because guilt makes people overcompensate, And women, being emotionally aware, know when they've crossed a line. So instead of withdrawing, like some do, others lean in, hard. They try to balance out what they just did by acting like they care more than ever. This is where most men get blindsided. They think, wow, she's finally appreciating me. No, bro. She's trying to ease her own conscience. She'll say things like, I've just been thinking how lucky I am to have you, or, you're really good to me, you know that? All nice on the surface. But ask yourself, why now? Why this sudden burst of affection? Why this emotional shift that came out of nowhere? A woman who's done something she knows you wouldn't approve of, like sleeping with someone else, might start behaving like the girlfriend you always wanted her to be, not because she suddenly changed, but because she's trying to bury the guilt deep enough that she can move on without addressing it. Even little things like bringing you coffee, checking up on you more than usual, or giving you unexpected gifts can be signs. It's not always from a good place. Sometimes it's just a form of distraction. If she does enough good, maybe you won't feel the need to question anything. One guy said his girl got way more affectionate after she had a girls' night out. She came home, jumped on him, kissed him all over, told him she missed him so much. He thought it was love, until he found out what actually went down that night. Men need to understand, real affection builds over time. But sudden emotional overload? That's not always love. Sometimes it's guilt trying to hide in plain sight. Don't let the sweet behavior distract you from what your gut already knows. 3. Avoids physical intimacy with you. Let's keep it real. When a woman has just been with someone else, especially in an intimate way, one of the most common changes is how she physically interacts with you. You'll feel it. You'll notice it. The chemistry starts dying, fast. She might not reject you directly, but her body language says it all. She turns away more. She delays intimacy. She gives excuses. I'm tired. Not in the mood. I'm bloated. Work stressed me out. These are common and, yeah, sometimes they're legit, but when they come out of nowhere and start happening frequently, something's off. And it's not just sex. Even simple touch becomes rare. Hugs feel one-sided. Kisses lack passion. Cuddling, almost forced. You feel like you're physically close, but emotionally 1,000 miles away. That energy doesn't lie. A lot of men ignore this because they don't want to seem insecure or pushy. But here's the truth. Women are usually more emotionally driven when it comes to intimacy. So when they start pulling back physically, it's often because there's something else happening emotionally or sexually with someone else. Even how she gets dressed around you might change. Before, she'd wear your shirt, be relaxed, natural. Now she's fully covered, facing away from you, or moving faster to change without any playful moments. The comfort is gone. Some men think maybe she's just not in the mood. But it's not just one day. It becomes a pattern. You start feeling like a stranger in your own relationship. And here's the wild part. She might still say, I love you, but her body says, stay away. Now, does this mean every time a woman avoids intimacy, she's cheating? No. But timing is everything. If this shift happens right after a period where she was unreachable, out late, or acting strange, pay attention. When things don't add up, it's usually because there's another equation you haven't seen yet. Don't make excuses for the distance. Don't downplay the coldness. If she's not letting you in physically, there's a reason. And chances are, that reason didn't start with you. 4. Suddenly distant but not angry. This one throws a lot of men off because it's quiet. There's no argument, no drama, no attitude, just space. She's not mad at you, she's not fighting you, but she's not present either. She's emotionally checked out, and you can feel it in every interaction. The conversations are shorter, her replies are dry. You ask how her day went, and she says fine, with nothing more. You try to connect, but it feels like you're talking to a coworker, not a girlfriend. That warmth? Gone. That spark? Missing. It's like her heart left the room, but her body stayed behind. And here's the dangerous part. Because she's not yelling, you don't see it as a problem. Most guys think, at least we're not arguing, not realizing that silence can be worse than noise. Distance without conflict usually means she doesn't care enough to fight. And that's a red flag. Here's where men need to wake up. When a woman has been with someone else, especially if she's trying to hide it, she often becomes emotionally numb toward you. It's a mental coping mechanism. She's split between two realities, one with you and one she knows she's not telling you about. So instead of addressing it, she just emotionally shuts down. You'll feel like you're chasing something that used to be natural. You're trying to get back to how it was, but every effort feels like it hits a wall. She's not mean. She's not distant out of stress. She's distant because her mind is somewhere else, probably still stuck on what she just did. And let's be honest, a lot of men ignore this. They call it a phase, just stress, or maybe she's tired. No, she's emotionally removed, and that removal didn't happen out of nowhere. Something triggered it. Something changed. It's not about blaming her instantly. It's about recognizing patterns. If she went from engaged and loving to silent and cold without a clear reason, it's not random. Don't let peace fool you. Emotional distance without tension is one of the most overlooked warning signs. Men, stop calling it a vibe. It's not just a vibe, it's a shift. And if you keep ignoring it, you'll be the last one to find out what really caused it. 5. Noticeable change in hygiene or freshness. Let's just say what most guys are too nervous to talk about. Sometimes the body tells the story before the mouth ever does. One of the rawest, most uncomfortable signs that something might have happened is when her hygiene or scent changes suddenly. Now, before someone gets emotional, this isn't about being judgmental. This is about being aware. If you've been intimate with a woman long enough, you know her scent, her rhythm, her habits. You know what's normal and what's not. So when you go to be close to her and suddenly something's off, your instincts kick in, and they should. There are moments when she comes home and she's fresh in a way that doesn't make sense. Like she took an extra shower right before seeing you, but she was only out with friends. Or the opposite. She didn't clean up like she normally does, and something feels out of place. Either way, your gut notices before your brain does. Another thing? Her grooming patterns might shift. Maybe she's suddenly more consistent with shaving, even though your sex life has slowed down. Or she starts wearing perfume you've never smelled before, but swears she's always worn it. You ask questions, and she gets defensive, or laughs it off like you're being dramatic. That's deflection. And let's talk laundry. Her clothes come back from a night out, and they smell like strong cologne, not yours. Or there's an outfit she wore out, and suddenly it's buried deep in the laundry, separate from the rest. Most men overlook this, thinking they'll sound insecure for noticing. But this isn't paranoia. This is awareness. Real talk. Women are usually very intentional about how they present themselves around the man they're intimate with. If that changes without a clear reason, it's not just a random thing. It's a sign. And no, you don't need to act like a detective. You just need to stop ignoring what's right in front of you. Too many men pretend they didn't notice, just to avoid confrontation. But that silence, it costs you peace of mind. If something feels off, there's a reason. You don't have to accuse, but you do need to observe. 6. Unexpected glow or boost in confidence. You know that subtle shift. When she starts walking with a little more bounce, smiling a little too easily, and acting like she's on top of the world. Yeah, that's not always just self-love. Sometimes that glow didn't come from within. It came from outside attention. Here's what men need to realize. When a woman has just been with someone else, especially if she chose that moment, it can give her an ego boost. Not because she's evil, not because she's trying to hurt you, but because she just felt wanted, validated, and desired by someone new. And whether or not she regrets it, that boost of attention can show in how she carries herself. She might dress up more, even on random days. She might suddenly care a lot more about her hair, nails, or makeup, even when she's not seeing you. Her energy feels elevated, but it's not being directed towards you. That's the part that stings. It's like she's walking around with this secret source of confidence, and you're not in on it. You'll hear her humming around the house, smiling to herself, checking her phone a little more often, maybe even playing with her hair while texting. It looks innocent, but the shift is noticeable, and deep down, you feel it. Now, does confidence automatically mean she was with someone? No. But timing matters. If she's been acting weird, distant, or shady, and then suddenly she's glowing like she just won the lottery, ask yourself what changed. Because it probably wasn't just a motivational podcast. Here's the hard truth. Some women feel empowered after cheating or stepping out. Not necessarily proud, but powerful. They know something you don't. They made a move and got away with it, for now. That confidence, that smirk, that's not random. Men often miss this because they associate cheating with guilt or shame. But that's not always how it shows up. Sometimes it comes back dressed as happiness, self-esteem, or newfound independence. And if you're not paying attention, you'll think things are getting better, when in reality, you're just watching her high from the thrill. Bottom line, confidence is attractive, but misplaced confidence is revealing. Know the difference. Don't get blinded by the glow. Look at why she's shining, and whether that light still has anything to do with you. 7. Short-term flaky behavior or disappearing acts. One of the biggest giveaways, and also one of the most ignored, is when she starts going off the grid. Not completely, just enough to create confusion. She suddenly becomes busy, tired, or caught up more than usual. Plans get pushed back. Calls go unanswered. Replies take hours. But the excuses always sound reasonable. This is where a lot of guys get played, because they want to believe her. And she gives just enough info to keep you from asking too many questions. I fell asleep. My phone died. I was with the girls, or the classic, it was last minute. Sounds believable, until it becomes a pattern. What's really happening? She's creating space, not just physically, but emotionally. She's carving out little windows of time where she's unreachable, and that's where things can go down. And here's the trick. She knows that if she disappears completely, you'll get suspicious. So instead, she shows up just enough to keep things feeling normal, while still doing what she wants behind the scenes. She might start flaking on things she used to be excited about. Suddenly she can't make it to dinner. She's too drained to hang out. Or she needs me time on a Friday night. And when you question it, she flips it. Why don't you trust me? Or, you're being too controlling. That reaction? It's not innocence. It's defense. What men don't realize is that this kind of behavior is rarely about one big lie. It's death by 1,000 small lies. She doesn't ghost you. She sprinkles distance over time. It's a slow fade. And by the time you really question it, she's already built up a system of excuses that makes you look like the one overthinking. Pay attention to those brief gaps. The time she says she was here, but you have no way of knowing. The missed calls that don't get mentioned. The shifts in energy after a night where she just stayed in. Those aren't always innocent. If she starts disappearing in small ways, especially after a period of closeness, she's not just distracted. She's creating a double life in real time. And unless you call it out early, you'll be the last to realize you weren't the only one in it. 8. Evasive or generic conversations. Here's where things get mentally frustrating. The conversations go dry, not because there's nothing to talk about, but because she starts avoiding depth. You'll ask her questions, and her answers will get shorter, vague, evasive, like she's trying to be present, but only at surface level. You know her normal tone. She usually shares details, jokes, stories, inside stuff with you. But now, it's like pulling teeth. She says things like, "It was just a normal day. Nothing much happened. Just tired, that's all." Every answer feels just enough to shut down the conversation, not open it up. You'll start noticing a drop in emotional engagement. You're talking about something serious or personal, and she gives you generic reactions. That's crazy. I hear you. Yeah, I get it. But there's no real feedback. She's there, but not really there. That's not moodiness. That's mental distance. And when you ask about her day, especially after she's been out, suddenly there's not much to say. That's a red flag. A woman who had a good, normal time with her friends usually has no issue telling you about it. She'll share the random details, who said what, where they went. But when the story is vague or the timeline feels fuzzy, there's a reason. Even worse, if you press a little, not aggressively, just casually, and she gets defensive or flips the conversation on you. That's misdirection. You say, "So what did y'all end up doing last night?" And she hits you with, "Why are you asking so many questions?" Or, "You always act like I have to report to you." That's not a confident woman protecting her freedom. That's someone avoiding exposure. A lot of men stay quiet because they don't want to seem insecure. But let's be honest, when a woman wants you to know something, she won't stop talking. When she needs you to stay in the dark, she keeps it generic. The shift from real connection to empty conversation isn't random. It's a sign. She's holding something back. And no matter how nice she acts on the surface, that emotional shutdown means her attention, or guilt, is somewhere else. Don't ignore the silence between the lines. It speaks louder than her words ever will. 9. Overcompensating with affection. Here's the tricky part. When she starts giving you more affection than usual, and it feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Random kisses, sweet texts, long hugs, she suddenly wants to be all over you. And while it might feel good at first, it's not the kind of affection that builds connection, it's the kind that hides guilt. A woman who just stepped out, physically or emotionally, knows she crossed a line. And if she's not ready to confess, or doesn't plan to, her way of making it right is to flood you with affection to distract you, and more importantly, to clear her own conscience. This affection isn't grounded in real emotion. It's strategic. She wants to cover up the shift you already started noticing. And most guys fall for it. Because let's face it, what man doesn't want to feel wanted by his woman again? Especially if things were tense just a few days ago. But look closely. She might start saying things like, "You're so good to me. I don't deserve you. I'm lucky to have you." Sounds sweet, right? But these are also phrases people say when they feel guilty and don't want to admit what they did. It's a way of emotionally resetting the scoreboard without addressing the foul that just happened. Another thing to watch for is sudden sexual energy, especially if there was recent distance before that. It might feel like she's back, like the connection's returning. But what you're seeing could be her way of proving to herself that she's still in control, that she can make things right without facing the truth. It's not always a conscious strategy, but the emotional math is simple. She knows she messed up, so she doubles down on being present, affectionate, and sweet, hoping you won't notice what's really going on. Here's the painful truth. When affection feels like a performance, it usually is. Real love is consistent, not sudden. It's grounded, not rushed. So if she's coming on strong after a period of weird energy or distance, don't just enjoy it, question it. Because it might not be love, it might be a cover-up. 10. Change in phone habits or privacy behavior. This one's probably the biggest red flag, and yet the most ignored. If her phone habits suddenly shift, pay attention. That little device in her hand holds more truth than most conversations ever will. Let's break it down. She used to leave her phone lying around. Now it's always face down or in her pocket. She used to answer texts or calls around you. Now she gets weirdly quiet or walks out of the room. She starts putting it on Do Not Disturb, turns notifications off, keeps it on silent, or better yet, suddenly has a password when she didn't before. And when you ask something casual like, "Who was that?" she gets defensive. "Why are you being nosy? It's just a friend. You're overthinking again." That right there, that shift in openness, is a huge sign. When someone has nothing to hide, they don't act like they do. Simple. Most men miss this because they don't want to seem controlling, and women know that. So they use privacy as the perfect shield. I need my space. Everyone deserves boundaries. And sure, that's true, but boundaries aren't supposed to come with secrecy. If she suddenly becomes overprotective of her phone, it's not about privacy. It's about control of access, making sure you don't accidentally see something she doesn't want you to see. Here's another one. She starts texting with her body turned away, or gets jumpy when you come near her screen. Her phone's glued to her hand 24/7, even in the bathroom, while sleeping, everywhere. It doesn't leave her sight. Now again, not every woman who guards her phone is cheating, but the change is what matters. If she never used to act like this and now it's becoming a pattern, it's not random, it's reactive. Phones are how we communicate, make plans, and stay connected. So if her behavior around that device is suddenly full of tension, secrecy, or defensiveness, it means her digital world is out of sync with the one she's showing you. Bottom line, if her screen time increases, but her honesty decreases, don't ignore it. You don't need proof in her inbox when her behavior already shows you more than enough. Let's be blunt. A woman can love you and still cheat on you. That's the part no one wants to admit, but it's the truth a lot of men eventually learn the hard way. Love doesn't always stop people from crossing the line. Comfort does, respect does, fear of loss does. And if she no longer fears losing you, she'll act like you're optional, even when she calls you home. These signs, they're not about turning you into a paranoid mess. They're about awareness, about trusting your gut when something doesn't feel right. Too many men silence themselves to keep the peace, when what they really need to do is wake up.